This is the Eye for an Eye channel. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to do a video talking more about crypto, blockchain, and the digital ID because they all are integral parts of Agenda 2030 and the New World Order. The World Economic Forum, of course, we know, are really the people who are, well, mainly behind this. I mean, you could obviously count other things like the Vatican, you can count other things like the bagels, but the World Economic Forum are openly telling you what is coming. They're openly telling you and preparing you for it. Now, they have an article up from January 2nd as we approach, again, the next meeting at the World Economic Forum, which I'll be covering on this channel because there's going to be a lot to cover from that meeting. I mean, they're going to talk about all of it. They're going to talk about the climate. They're going to talk about all these agendas that they have to push. So they have an article up that's called, "This is what the future holds for cryptocurrencies." Now, again, I've talked about cryptocurrencies, the deception of cryptocurrencies, how they have desensitized people and got them used to this currency. This will be a controlled currency, and it will all have to do with blockchain, and it will all have to do with your digital identity. Now, the thing that just occurred a few years ago, you might remember they talked about passports. They talked about how, we need passports so that we can have all of this stuff managed and tracked. Everything. And I'm going to show you a video now so that you can have a better understanding of it. But don't forget that the world leaders met last year, late in the year. I covered it on one of my channels. And they signed a treaty for the most part. Not a bill, a treaty with the leaders of all these countries to move forward with a digital passport and a digital ID. And this article from the World Economic Forum talks about cryptography and blockchains and how they will continue to be integral parts of the modern economic toolkit. And then, of course, the next sentence, which is just hilarious, if you have a sense of humor, because these people are so sick, they say it'll be an integral part of the modern economic toolkit, despite the great harm these tools may have caused when wielded by the wrong people. I think that these would be the wrong people to wield that type of power, but of course, they want you to think, and that's part of everything that happened with FTX, that individuals trying to manage this on their own without the government being involved, it's dangerous, people go bankrupt, it's unregulated. These are all part of psychological operations. They're ready now to roll out their universal digital currency as well. But let's take a look for those of you that don't understand what life will be like. And you'll see this, and of course they have the nice music behind it. I always mention this because you'll see commercials on TV for like a pharmaceutical drug, right? And it'll just be like an old couple or a couple at the park with their kids, balloons in the air, and they'll read like 70,000 side effects. I used to have a video on it, and they removed it because they said it was harmful. I had a video on it where I just was saying what you would think would be going on. Meanwhile, then I played it after the fact with all the stuff of them saying the side effects. Well, that is how psychological operations work, in a sense. They put this nice music behind it. They tell you how it's going to benefit you, how you won't be hacked, how your digital identity is you. You're a doctor, your digital identity is you. You don't have to worry about these boogeymen cyber attacks going on. And remember, they'll be creating more and more of those apps. So take a look at the digital ID. And of course, this ties into blockchain, and this ties in to being in you.
According to Article 6 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. However, 1.2 billion people in the world live without documented proof of their existence. That means they're excluded from modern society and the everyday activities that we take for granted. ID 2020 believes that the future can be different. This public-private partnership is dedicated to solving the challenges related to identity in today's world. To do this, we need to understand what truly defines our identity and how we prove it. We need to appreciate the human at the heart of the challenge. Using innovative technology, we can discover how that identity can be established, trusted, and strengthened over time.
I am Sarah. I am a mother.
I am a doctor. I am a soccer fan.
I am Fabiola. I am a student.
I am a princess.
I am Zhao. I am a scientist.
I am a teacher. I am...
Can you show me some identification?
No, my house was completely destroyed. I just ran.
You will need some ID to cross the border.
I got nothing on me. What can I do? I'm a father. I'm trying to find my family. Please, I'm scared.
Hi, how can I help you?
My child needs to be vaccinated.
Okay, can I get your name
I am Nia.
and your date of birth?
I don't know my date of birth. I don't have a birth certificate.
Don't you have any form of ID? I'm sorry, Nia, we need something that proves who you are and where you were born.
Can you please help me? I'm here on holidays, but I've lost my passport and my flight leaves tomorrow.
That will take some time to process.
But I need to get back. Family emergency. What can I do?
Can I get your name?
Can you show me some identification?
Don't you have any form of ID?
Please help me.
What if your identity was always in your hands? An identity you can trust, that others can trust? What if this digital identity was always at your fingertips, and people could verify your identity in a few simple steps? What if you were in control of your data and how it's shared with others? What if this personal, portable identity helped you to learn, work, and live? What if showing who you are was as easy as saying, I am?
I am Yosef.
Across the globe, the pieces are coming together to make this happen. Accenture, Microsoft, and Avanade have teamed up to create the prototype you've seen in action. It's a first step towards a digital identity solution for all. To achieve this, we need motivated, passionate people and organisations to join us. So we invite you to come together, collaborate, and realise the vision of ID 2020. Who are you? This is a question that often comes up in our daily lives. Whether we're boarding a plane, checking our bank balance, or paying a utility bill, we regularly have to prove we are who we say we are. However, more than 1 billion people across the globe cannot prove who they are with any certainty. Many of those have never had a form of verifiable ID to begin with, and more than 15 million were victims of identity theft last year alone. With this in mind, we have developed a unique digital identity prototype to modernise identity management for organisations and individuals. Leveraging the power of blockchain and biometrics, the system makes establishing, tracking, and managing digital identities more efficient, user-friendly, secure, and less open to fraud. Let's follow Yosef as he establishes and builds his identity. At an enrolment station, his biometrics are securely captured through his fingerprints, voice, face, or an iris scan. Then several steps are taken to create a unique identifier using multiple security protocols. This identifier is then recorded on the blockchain, which acts as an index with links to all applicable data. This makes it easy to locate, access, and share information without Yosef's personal data being stored on the blockchain. Using an application on his phone, Yosef creates a personal profile that's multi-factored and authentication secured. The app allows Yosef to generate his own set of public and private keys which he can use to sign the data he sends to others. That way third parties can be absolutely certain the information is his. Yosef shares the public key using a QR code. When he scans this QR code at the enrolment station, an official attestation is added to his profile and signed by a private key. This is the beginning of Yosef's living identity, an identity that he will build with each stamp he collects from his university, his employer, or from government and non-government agencies. The major benefit of this identity system is that Yosef is always in control of his own personal data. He determines which information is shared, who sees it, and for how long. Instead of multiple paper documents, he can use a single, easy-to-manage app. The system makes life easier for organisations too. It's interoperable with other databases, so existing identity data stays put. Efficiency for background checks is greatly improved as an organisation can choose to trust existing attestations instead of repeating the process. For additional security, there's also the option of checking data at source if the user grants permission. The system is also flexible. While this prototype has been created for a mobile device, the technology can work with or without connected devices. This prototype is the basis for our work with ID 2020, a public-private partnership committed to providing a digital identity to the 1.2 billion individuals living without a way to prove their existence. We believe it's the first step towards a digital identity that makes answering the question, "Who are you?" as simple as saying, "I am."
So for those of you that don't really understand, I've covered this in the past and I've talked about crypto biometrics. And crypto biometrics, some of the things that they talk about, especially with cryptography, is a method of protecting, this is the definition, of protecting information and communications through the use of codes. Okay, so the cryptography mixing with the blockchain, right? The use of codes. You know what they're talking about? You might be thinking they're talking about, hey, there's some code on the back end of a website that I don't know anything about. Are you a coder? No, they're talking about your genetic code. That's what they're talking about. Encrypting this into your genetic code, into your DNA, manipulating your DNA. That's what this is all about. And they want this by 2030. There's companies like Humanoid, whatever they want to call themselves, Understanding Humanoid, well, getting started with blockchain development, where they're talking about biometrics. Biometrics is the implementation of this into your body. Now, people think they're like, well, with biometrics, it means I could just go up to a thing and have my retina scanned, or I could just go up somewhere and have my finger scanned. Well, yeah, that's part of biometrics, but it's going to be more than that, because you're going to be the lab rat, the experiment. You're going to be the one who has their code genetically altered. That's what this is all about. It's about total control. Remember what Klaus Schwab talked about. It's going to change you. He said, it's going to change you.
Look at things like artificial intelligence. Exactly. And robots. Look at things like gene editing. Exactly. Opening a whole new horizon for medical science.
And you see, the difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. When you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you are changing what it means to be human.
That's the problem. Of course, the new industrial revolution offers us many opportunities, but it raises manifold questions on the ethical, but even legal implications, and we have to be prepared for it.
This is what they're talking about. They're talking about altering humans' DNA. And there's a lot of things that tie into it with blockchain, with your digital ID, and this is about full control. Them being able to fully monitor your carbon footprint ties into this. Your potion status ties into this. Your medical history ties in, all of it. It's all going to be on here. And you will not be able to buy or sell without having this. You will not be able to function in their society without having it. I know a lot of people have their own take on what the mark is. That's perfectly fine. I don't like to get in arguments with people about it. I'm always curious to what people have to say. I've heard Sunday law. I've heard so many different things. And I don't sit there and bash them and say that they're idiots or anything like that. It's good that everybody gets these things out there. And then you could at least decipher this yourself and look at these things and say, hey, I could see it being that. I believe that this is what it is. That this is the manipulation of your DNA code. You're no longer going to be human. Okay? It's not just going to be a chip that's in you. It's going to be you that's altered. And that's what they're talking about, the World Economic Forum, with this biometrics and blockchain. And they've already hinted at it. They're like, we've run experiments on lab rats. Oh, when people just laugh at it. They're like, they're running experiments on lab rats being able to buy or sell with a blockchain inside of them. Yeah, well, what do you think they're trying to tell you? You're the next lab rat. You're the next experiment. So for those of you that don't understand how this all works, we're going to hear a huge push. I believe this year they're going to start doing stuff with the FTX scandal that broke, where they start trying to regulate and control crypto, which has been the plan from the get-go, because they're the ones who rolled this out. They're the ones who jumped the stock market on it, put it through the roof to make young people millionaires and all that stuff. And now all those people are losing their money in it. It was all done by design. It was to get people to understand how blockchain works, to understand how crypto works. A lot of older people don't really understand, but it was to get the younger people on board because that's the ones they're focusing on, the ones that they believe will take this type of technology into their body and alternate themselves to have this technology, to function in this society. They know that people who are like 70 and 80 years old are just going to be like, huh, what? And not do this. So they've prepared the youth out there for this type of tech. And now all they need to do is come out and tell you how it's going to be regulated through the Federal Reserve, or they might even just have Bitcoin be the coin. I don't know. But we'll see how this all plays out. The World Economic Forum, of course, is going to be covering this in great detail when they meet in Davos again very shortly. And I'll be covering that as well. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless all of you and your families.